Top teachers union leaders make more than $500,000 a year in pay and benefits, leaving critics to say that taxpayer-funded membership dues allow the high compensation. Just what are the public students and parents getting out of that? Welcome back to the States. Joining us to get to the bottom of that question is the Center Square education reporter, Esther Wickham. Esther, thanks for taking time, and especially as we are in an election year and the role that unions play in politics. Let's talk about teachers' unions. And you've got a series that's coming out throughout the week here, starting with just how much these teachers' union bosses are making.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. It's kind of interesting to see, kind of starting out with this series, specifically how much these leaders in these teacher unions, the largest teacher unions, the National Education Association and the American Federation for Teachers, make on an annual basis. We have here the president of the National Education Association, Rebecca Pringle. She makes about $755 per year, and about $149,000 of that is just for benefits and other compensations, as the public filings state. And on the other side of the American Federation for Teachers, the president, Randi Weingarten, she makes around the same. She makes around $514,488 in salary. Again, with a significant portion of that going to benefits and other compensation. So I think it's really interesting to take a look at, how much the average American salary is, how much the average starting salary and average salary for teachers, especially those within the public school sector, are making compared to how much these presidents are making for these teacher unions, and how much they're actually representing those teachers and where students are at in the public school system.
Yeah, and just back to the salaries for these union bosses, Esther, it's not just the presidents of the National Education Association or the American Federation of Teachers that are making $514,000. You've got the vice president of both of those organizations also making six figures. For instance, the NEA vice president makes $416,000. The AFT vice president makes $343,000. I mean, that's almost $1 million for just the top two spots there in these teachers' unions. That's a considerable amount of money. What does that compare to the average teacher salary?
Yeah, so before looking at the average teacher salary, I think it's important to note the average starting salary. I didn't include this, but the average starting salary for a teacher currently is only $48,000. And the average starting salary now in public school, as you see here, is $74,000. And so when you look on that compared to how much, as you said, basically $500,000 these leaders in teacher unions are making, that's, not even 2 times the amount of what these teachers are making in the public school system. And on top of that, we've seen across the country a continued decline in teachers in public school systems. There's a massive shortage that public schools are facing when it comes to the uptick of needing teachers. And so on top of that, those that are in the school system even currently aren't, making enough, and they don't also, work your average 40 hours a week. They're doing more in the evening and weekends when it comes to grading and hosting various events for the school. And so, yeah, teachers do a lot, and it's kind of interesting to see that dichotomy between that and the leaders for unions.
And $74,000, the average salary for teachers. And what's interesting is you're finding some critics of teachers' unions saying that, of course, they're getting paid by teachers who are getting dollars from local school board budgets, and those dollars are then used to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to bankroll these unions. How much money are we talking about is the AFT and the NEA bringing in every year?
Yeah, so looking at what many of the critics have said about unions, specifically I spoke with Lance Azumi. He's the director of education at the Pacific Research Institute, and he's looked into, teacher unions on a national level, but also specifically the California Teachers Association. And as you said, they're raking in millions of dollars per year when it comes to membership dues. So membership dues are what teachers pay yearly. Usually it's broken down monthly, but it's some states, not all, but they allow that to be a payroll deduction. So before that money hits the teacher's bank account, a certain portion is taken out going to these membership dues. And since these are public schools, these salaries are public funded, meaning taxpayer dollars. So those membership dues are taxpayer funds. And many education analysts and critics say that, as we've seen, these are taxpayer dollars going to these unions, and the NEA gets around 300 to 400, I think it's $454 million per year when it comes to membership dues, and the AFT is around $274 million per year. And so that's quite a chunk of change when it comes to just membership dues. And like I said, these are payroll deducted federal tax dollars that are coming from these salaries.
We're talking, you said millions of dollars earlier. That's hundreds of millions of dollars. We're talking what, more than or around $750 million, and that's an annual dues they collect?
Yeah, and so it's kind of interesting to see the dichotomy between what's going on there. Hundreds of millions of dollars are collected from federally taxpayer salaries coming out to membership dues. And at the same time, we're seeing this decline on teacher shortages and student test scores, student proficiency levels.
I was just going to ask, what are we getting for this, right? I mean, are the public schools like immaculate? Are they, high scores and high test grades and everything?
I mean, as of 2025, according to the National Education Progress, the NAEP reports show that on a national level, we're about 30% proficient, Greg. So our K through 12 students are 70% not proficient when it comes to math, reading, writing on various subjects. And so, we're seeing on a national level students' test scores on a significant decline. And you can look state by state, district by district, and the basis level for proficiency is below 50% across pretty much all states. And so what a lot of critics have told me when talking about this, teacher unions, it seems like they prioritize their political affiliations, their campaign contributions over teachers and students.
And a lot of times, too, you see them pushing for higher wages for teachers, which, I think a lot of people may agree that teachers deserve to be paid well. But you also got to consider unions are going to continue to get a little bit of that increased pay as well. So, Esther, this is an incredible story. And again, it's a series you've got coming out throughout this week, highlighting the impact or lack of impact of teachers' unions when it comes to things within the education space, and also the impact teachers' unions have on politics as we head into an election year. Greatly appreciate your time and your reporting. We'll definitely want to check out those stories, and you can find them at thecentersquare.com. We'll be right back with more here from the States.